Hello and welcome to The Scenic Ride, a podcast where we explore some of the best motorcycle rides in North America and beyond. I'm Sanna.
I'm Staci.
And I'm Davin.
This is part 2 of our Route 66 series, and we're releasing this as a bonus episode for you guys this week. If you haven't listened to part 1 yet, I would highly recommend going back and listening to that first so you don't miss anything. The first part was Illinois to Oklahoma, and so today we'll be starting in Texas. So buckle up for the final stretch of Route 66. Okay, well, let's head into Texas. The Texas stretch is pretty short. It's only 186 miles. At least that was the original route because it goes through the Panhandle, so it doesn't go through the entire state, just kind of like the hat or whatever you guys call it down there in Texas.
We call it the Panhandle.
All right, I'm going to keep calling it the hat. One of the most iconic stops on the entire route, I keep saying that, but this is really true, is that you drop in Shamrock. Have you guys been there? I'm assuming you have, Staci.
I actually haven't. There's parts of Interstate 40 where I've done Route 66 stuff, like the Cadillac Ranch, which is a little further west. But this one, I actually, when I'm on this part of I-40, I just go. I don't stop for anything.
I don't blame you. I mean, this is what's so fascinating to me about Route 66, to be honest, is that so much of the riding is just like, ugh, this is the worst part of the country. I want to just get through it. But if you actually get off the road, there's some of the best roadside attractions and just like coolest pieces of preserved Americana. So you drop in is a really beautiful, also restored service station, but it's housed in this like Art Deco building that looks like nothing else I've ever seen. It's got these olive green walls and like ceramic detailing and 2 big towers. And it's one of the most photographed buildings on Route 66 for a reason. It's really beautiful.
So I just looked this up while you were explaining it because remember just a second ago, when we were in Oklahoma, I mentioned, hey, there's this green neon sign gas station. That's the one. So it's you drop in. That's the one that I'm like, I always want to stop there. So apparently when I'm in the Texas Panhandle, I just need to slow my roll and actually go look at it.
It's a beautiful building. It's on the National Register of Historic Places. The little old lady who works there, assuming she's still there, she'll come out and offer to take your photo. She did with me. I was like setting up my tripod and sitting on my bike to get a photo in front of the building, and she came out and then she started reading all my patches on my riding vest, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, stop
doing that. That's not going to be good. But she was so sweet, and she took a really good photo actually. So yeah, good stuff in Shamrock, Texas.
That's good to know. Now I got to go. I'm not too far from there. I mean, being in Colorado and Denver, I'm only like 400 miles from Amarillo. It's not that far. Amarillo is an interesting town. There is the 72-ounce steak place if you want to do something that's very Route 66 specific. But Amarillo's nickname is the Bomb City. They used to build bombs there back in the day. And so it's like when you go to Amarillo, you'll understand, but it's just in the middle of nowhere. And so it kind of went through like a boom and a bust kind of phase. And so there isn't too much there, but there is a college just south of there. And that kind of keeps that area kind of alive, in my opinion. And so things are always changing. But I do know that the old 72-ounce steak that's been a Route 66 challenge for years, that place has been there forever.
Yeah. That's one of those famous spots along the route that I haven't stopped at again because it doesn't really agree with my diet. But if you eat meat, you should probably go.
I have been there. I haven't tried to eat a 72-ounce steak, but I ate a normal size steak and I thought it was overpriced and underseasoned. I was not impressed.
Yeah, it's a thing.
It
That
is a
place is
bit.
chaotic, and yeah, I've been there too, and same deal. It's like overpriced, under-seasoned, and very, very mid.
Yeah, I'd rather go to the Whataburger across the street because there is one, like, right across the street from it, so that's just me. If you really gotta try and eat one of those steaks, go for it, but there's a Texas Roadhouse in Amarillo, like, just go there if you want steak. I know that's not Route 66, but at least you'll enjoy your meal.
I mean,
Good call.
seriously.
Um, so we already mentioned Cadillac Ranch, which is again one of those really famous spots. I think it's worth a visit. Like you should stop there. If you don't know, it's 10 Cadillacs buried nose down in the ground. When I went, it was super muddy, like just like a
Same.
mud puddle, so you couldn't even get close to them. But if it's a little more dry, you can bring spray paint and you can add your own artwork to the cars. So that's kind of cool. I think though that if you're just gonna pick one of these two attractions, the better one is Slug Bug Ranch because it's a little more underrated. Do you guys know about Slug Bug Ranch?
I've never heard
No,
of this,
ma'am.
so tell me more.
So it's like a lesser known sibling of Cadillac Ranch, and it's VW Beetles buried in the ground instead of Cadillacs. So it's, they just like made a kind of a spoof of Cadillac Ranch. They've moved it since I was there. So it used to be just like a little side of the road, kind of no parking really, no signage, really nothing other than these half buried beetles. Now they've moved it. To I think it sits outside an RV park maybe, but it's more of a tourist attraction now. But it's cool because it's not as well known as Cadillac Ranch.
Yeah, it's good for the California people who like Volkswagens. For me, being from Detroit, very Cadillac, Motor City kind of guy. We're out here trying to get used to all the freaks that like Volkswagens and Toyotas. It's a little bit difficult for me to agree with you on this one. I like the Cadillac Ranch, but I was going to say the funny thing, it was also muddy when I was there, but I went out and I trampled through it, and my boots are still dirty from that one. I don't know. And it's funny, I was just trying to find my photos, and there is no photographic evidence of me at the Cadillac Ranch or getting a big steak, but I know I was there, and I know I had a phone, and I know what ride it was on, but for some reason they're not in my cloud. So it's
If it's not in the cloud, it never happened. I think if you like the American stuff, you want to go full America with your roadside attractions. There's also the Second Amendment Cowboy on the Texas stretch, which is another muffler man. But yeah, it's all about the Second Amendment. Also, I think maybe we should talk about a little side quest here because I think you told me about this, Staci. Paladuro Canyon.
Yeah, the crown jewel of Texas side quests for Route 66 for sure.
And I think crown jewel of Route 66 side quests in general, because there aren't that many places where you can get off, especially like east of New Mexico, I guess, where you can get off and like ride some really scenic, twisty stuff. So do you want to talk about Paladuro?
Yeah, Paladuro Canyon State Park is one of the largest canyons in the United States. I want to say next to the Grand Canyon, which is really interesting because when you stand there in the canyon or kind of on top of it, it doesn't seem that big, but I think it goes by mileage. I don't know if it goes by depth or width. I think it goes by mileage off the top of my head. But when you're out in West Texas, it is so flat. You would never expect that this canyon system would be just 20, 30 minutes south of Amarillo. And it is so beautiful, and you can camp in it, and there's some good hiking trails if that's something you're into and have the time to do that. But yeah, they're just these red and orange rocks. And it is just so cool. And yeah, it's like the one twisty road that you're going to find in the Texas Panhandle because you can ride down into the canyon. It is a one-way in, one-way out road. So you can't ride all the way through the canyon and pop out on the other side of it. But I do think it's worth checking out at least once. I've camped there a few times through my travels on a motorcycle and in my truck. So I've done some of the hikes and whatnot. And yeah, I think it's cool to see at least once and just kind of break up the monotony of just kind of straight roads. So
Yeah, by the time I got to Amarillo, I was like starved for a turn. So that was a really good detour, I think. It's really beautiful. The road into the canyon is, it's like little switchbacks. It's fun riding, even if it's not like miles and miles of it. Also, I would say just heads up that the weather can get pretty extreme down there. I think you can hit floods and like extreme heat because it does get hotter at the canyon floor than up at the top. So, a couple of warnings for that. But in October, it was perfect.
Yeah, it if there's heavy rain in the forecast, it can flood. And every now and then, like if you enter the park right after a flash flood, there are some areas there that'll have like little signs on the side that'll tell you like the depth of the little washes. That's the word I'm looking for, the flood washes. So just kind of pay attention to that. I feel like in recent years, the weather's gotten a little more intense and there's just been more extremely heavy rainstorms that have gone through there. So they've been having more issues with flooding in the canyon, but just check the weather and you'll be fine. If it's saying no weather's in the forecast, go check it out.
Yeah, definitely worth the detour. Okay, so there's one more stop in Texas that I think you have to stop at. There might be more that you guys recommend, but for me, the last spot is the Midpoint Cafe. That that basically marks the geographical midpoint between Chicago and Los Angeles, and it's worth a stop with a sign. Wait, have you guys been there?
I have. I haven't eaten at
I'm
the
not.
cafe, but I've taken. So I used to ride from Oklahoma City to Taos, New Mexico all the time because a few of my good friends live out there. And I used to just rip that 600-mile stretch all the time. And which it's kind of funny to like think about now. But anyway, used to do it on my Sportster with a 2-gallon tank. And
Oh,
there's a gas station over there. So I would always stop at the gas station and then I'd go across the highway and take a picture at the midpoint line in the road because it's painted telling you exactly where the midpoint is. So I've got some photos over by that cafe, but I've never eaten there.
I haven't eaten there either, but I was just looking at their Facebook page the other day, and there's like a ton of photos of people licking their plates. And I was like, what is happening at this place? But so it turns out, I did some research. It turns out that if you order pie there, they're apparently a big pie place. If you order pie and you lick your plate when you're done, you get a free "I lick the plate at the Midpoint Cafe" sticker, and they
Yeah.
take a photo of you and put it on their Facebook page. So
Sweet, I'm in.
yeah, I gotta do that next time.
I don't even care about stickers, but I'll do it for pie.
I love pie and stickers, so win-win. But it was unfortunately closed when I was there. This is my problem: is that I am such an early riser that I am usually on the road for hours before anything opens. So I'm at a lot of places just like hours before they even open for the day. So I just literally just go for photo ops. But at some point, I'll travel during normal business hours. Okay, we're leaving Texas and heading into New Mexico. And this is another long stretch because it goes through the entire state, and it's 487 miles of Route 66 through New Mexico. And I do want to say that there's a lot of Native American history in New Mexico, and that's like one of the things that you should probably look for specifically when you're traveling Route 66 through the state. When I did it in 2021, it was again during the pandemic. So anything that was, like on a reservation or a pueblo, or like, yeah, native land was closed for visitors because they got hit so hard by the pandemic. So I missed out on a lot of that. So I don't have a lot of firsthand experience on it, but I would say definitely look up. And you guys might have some recommendations, but I really don't because I wasn't able to go to a lot of it. But we can start in another really great little Route 66 town, which is Tucumcari. This is where you'll find the Blue Swallow Motel, which again, one of those super iconic spots that everyone kind of knows because they have this beautiful neon sign out front. And the motel itself is a classic 1930s motor court, which means that each room has its own little garage. I actually stayed there when I went through, and I hadn't booked anything ahead of time. And usually that's one of those places that if you want to stay at the Blue Swallow, you should book it out of time because it sells out. But I just rolled in, and again, no Germans on the route in 2021. So I got the last room they had. It was like a 2-bedroom suite. It was really nice. But I was sitting outside my room at night and drinking my little beer, and these guys came up and were like they were mad at me because I just rolled in the same day because they had booked this months in advance. They had planned out everything, and they were honestly upset with me because I just rolled in and got a room the same day. But normally, I don't think you can do that. I think this is a spot you want to book ahead of time.
For sure. Yeah, that's definitely one of those kind of iconic photo stop kind of spots. I haven't seen it, but it is on my list of places where I'm like, well, if I decide to overnight it in Tucumcari, I'll I'll definitely stay there just so I can take photos and be a photography nerd.
David, have you been to Tucumcari?
Yep. There was a little taco joint kind of across the street down the road a little bit from the Blue Swallow that I stopped at when I was cruising through. And it was incredibly mediocre, but the town is adorable. And yeah, lots of neon lights and old Americana stuff.
Yeah,
which I thought was cool.
Yeah, it's another one of those towns that kind of leaned into that heritage.
And a lot of empty real estate.
Yeah,
yeah, another Route 66. Another common thing on Route 66. I would say that Tucumcari also, if obviously you're traveling by motorcycle, probably if you're listening to this podcast, it's a good gas stop. These stretches of New Mexico can go like 70 miles without gas, especially if you hop on the interstate. I can't remember how far it is from Tucumcari to Santa Rosa, but I feel like 70 something miles sounds about right. I could be wrong. But I know I've definitely stopped there when I would ride my 2-gallon Sportster across New Mexico. I would stop in Tucumcari and I'd stop in Santa Rosa. So
it's 60 miles, but yeah, for a Sportster with a small tank, you probably want to stop at both places.
I'm out of gas and there's no reserve at 80 miles. So I stop at both.
Yeah. And Santa Rosa is cool too because they have the Blue Hole, which is another kind of famous spot. There's a lot of blue stuff. There's a Blue Swallow. There's the Blue Whale in Oklahoma, and there's the Blue Hole. I don't know if there's...
But the Blue Hole's the coolest one.
It is pretty cool. Opinion. Yeah. So the Blue Hole of Santa Rosa is a small lake, essentially, that's 80 foot deep and has a constant temperature of 62 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a cenote, so it's basically like a collapsed cavern, like with a cave system inside of it at the bottom. That goes down all the way to 194 feet, and it's really popular with divers. I love a swimming hole, but I'm also terrified of like the deep depths of, some unknown like bodies of water that just don't end. So I think it's really cool. I think it's worth a stop, and if it's hot, probably jump in. But I don't want to know what's down there at the bottom.
Is there a shark? Is there a great white shark in the depths? That's always, I will jump into the Blue Hole. I've never gotten to because it's never open when I go through, because they do have like swimming hours essentially. But anytime I'm in deep water, I always assume like a tiger shark or a great white shark's just going to eat my toes.
I don't think there are sharks in the Blue Hole, but there might be other,
there's not.
Scary
They're just
creatures.
in my mind. Yeah.
I'm sure there's scary stuff living in the dark depths of it.
I'd send it though. I've always wanted to stop there, and I just think it's so cool. But I never go through there at the right hour or the right day. So
yeah, I again went through there super early in the morning, and it was freezing out. Like the air temperature was so cold that I didn't want to get in the water. But
that's fair.
Yeah, I have to go back and do that too during business hours.
Yeah, I didn't know about this one. That's cool.
Yeah, for a guy that dunks his junk, that one should be way up on your list, brother.
But I'm the guy who will dunk junk with everybody, but I don't do it when I'm by myself. Yeah.
Oh.
I'm like I'm there for support.
You're really good at not stopping, so I guess you do need you need the emotional friend group to make you stop and enjoy the roadside attractions. Yeah.
I'm not the worst guy at stopping. I'm the best guy at not stopping.
Yeah. Not a solo dunker.
No,
that's okay.
I don't want to get eaten by the critters.
Yeah.
I'm afraid.
Fair enough.
Growing up by Lake Superior, I'm weird about not fresh, clear, cold water. I don't know what's in there.
Okay, next up, I would say is probably Albuquerque.
I would probably say Klein Corners. Have you guys ever stopped at Klein Corners?
I don't think I have.
Okay, Klein Corners is a little bit east of Albuquerque, and it's basically a truck stop, but it's one of those ones like that you would probably like, Sanna, with like The Thing or something. There's something about it that's there, I believe. And
oh wait, I have stopped there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's there, and that's a good place for stickers. So you can get your Albuquerque sticker there, you can get your Klein Corners sticker there. whatever you want. But yeah, that's a good stop, especially if you have a Sporty with a 2-gallon peanut tank.
Now I'm looking at the photo of it right now, and I recognize that, and I recognize it specifically as a spot where. So a little bit of background: when I did Route 66 in 2021, I did it on a Pan America that I borrowed from Harley. And 2021 is the year that the Pan America came out. So this was like just a few months after they released this bike to the public. So there were almost zero Pan Americas on the roads at this point. No one had seen one in person. And so every single gas stop, this entire road trip, I would like roll into a gas station, and I started calling it the dad magnet, because as soon as I rolled in, I could see all the dads or grandpas, like all the men at the gas station were just like, they were just drawn to the bike as a magnet. And this Klein's Corner stop was like one of the worst ones. Like I had to factor in like an extra hour at every gas stop. Yeah. They're like, at one point there's like a line of people. They just lined up to ask questions about the bike, which the first few times it was funny, and like I'm happy to talk about it. Like it's a really fun motorcycle. This is the trip that made me fall in love with it, and then I bought my own a couple of years later. But no one had seen one in person, so I just had to field so many questions, and it took so much longer than expected.
That's funny. I thought you were going to tell me you had to stop and change your fuel pump. That's a way better story.
I made it 3,000 miles without having to change the fuel pump on this one, luckily.
Amazing.
I had the same issue in 2022, I want to say was the year. I was on a blue one for a little bit. I got to borrow a press bike for a while, and no one had seen one. I remember being at the Grand Canyon, which we'll talk about here in a little bit when we get to Arizona, Route 66. But I was at the Grand Canyon at an overlook, and it was like 3 different people came up to me, and it just continued like all the way down Route 66, where people just kept stopping to talk to me about that bike. And I was like, I will never get anywhere on this motorcycle, because they're like, is that a Harley? I see the logo, but I don't understand the bike.
Yep.
I'm like, that thing?
Yep, it's an adventure bike. And they're like, a what? And I'm like, yes.
Who? Where are y'all headed?
Yeah, so exactly that conversation. Like, it says Harley, but that's not a Harley. What is it? Actually, a funny thing about that too is that so like I said, no one had ever seen one before, and I was on one of the gray ones that they had in 2021. And then I got to Needles in California. We'll get there eventually, but I'm just going to chime in with a story here because it's relevant to the conversation. So I was on my gray Pan America. I rolled into this hotel that I always stay at in Needles. And you know how they ask you to sign in with like your make and model of your vehicle so they don't tow you or give you a ticket. So I just was like, I'm not going to put all of that. I'm just going to put Pan America. There's 0% chance that there will be another one here. And so I just put Pan America, didn't put license plate or anything. And then I walk out and actually ride around into the parking lot, and there's another gray Pan America.
Come on.
In the parking lot. So this was probably like patient zero. The first guy to ever buy one just happened to be in the same hotel as me on the exact same bike. So I had to eat my words.
Did you meet this cool guy?
Yeah, we talked for a little bit. We were like, at this point, we became the person that walked up to the Pan America to ask questions about it. So, I was the person that I had been trying to avoid.
Where y'all headed?
That's not early.
Yep.
It's crazy to run into one like in the middle of nowhere.
It was a thing.
Yeah. No, it was very random. And I really don't see them that often even now. I mean, definitely more than in 2021, but like they're still pretty rare.
They're pretty common here in Colorado. Not to turn this into a Pan America podcast, but yeah, if I do go out here, just because people love to ride adventure bikes, you do see them more often. But in other states, no. It just depends where you're at in the country, I guess. But
for sure. Okay, we're getting closer to Albuquerque, but I actually did want to take a little side quest before we head into the city, and that's Sandia Crest Scenic Byway that goes up into the mountains, kind of east of Albuquerque. And that's also a good little, just get off the freeway and ride some twisties. This is a really good one. So it's 13 miles of like really sharp turns and switchbacks. So it takes quite a bit of time to get up it, even though it's not very long. the crest itself is 2 miles above sea level, and there's a restaurant at the top, and there's also a lot of wildlife. So just fun little twisty side quest.
I've done that one. It's a good one.
I've heard of it, but I haven't done it. So there's lots of good stuff in that area of northern New Mexico. I mean, I feel like you could just side quest for days up there.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure. This one is right, like super close to Albuquerque. So, but if you get up to like Santa Fe and, actually there are some like the original stretch of Route 66 went up north a little bit. I think it went through Santa Fe. So you can actually find some historical Route 66 stuff. Like they bypassed Route 66 with Route 66 in New Mexico. So there's like original section up north towards Santa Fe, and then there's like original section closer to Albuquerque.
that makes sense.
And then there's I-40, which bypassed all of it, basically. But yeah, New Mexico is so beautiful. There's so much good writing there. Albuquerque is also interesting because it's the longest urban stretch of Route 66. It has 18 continuous miles going through town. And they also kind of leaning into that heritage a little bit. I didn't spend a lot of time there. Do you guys have any Albuquerque recommendations?
I do not. Anytime I think of Albuquerque, I think of Breaking Bad and crackhead, basically. So I know that's not the
There's
best
a lot of that, yeah.
stereotype, but that's all I know. So
And then there's a stretch between Albuquerque and Gallup, and that's where a lot of the Native American history, like the pueblos, a lot of the cultural sites are located in that section. I just kind of ripped through it because again, I wasn't able to stop because everything was closed to the public. Do you guys have anything there, or should we move into Gallup?
to do that stuff, it is really cool to stop and see because you are pretty much going through tribal land through that section. But a lot of it is side quests. So it's not like you go right off the interstate. It's like a few hours of time to really stop and go see that stuff, which if you have the time, it's worth it. But it's not a quick hop off the interstate, see a thing, snap a photo and go. So I'd say we save those things for the future. I have been to the El Rancho Motel in Gallup, and I have stayed the night there, and that was before I was really into Route 66 kind of roadside attraction things. A buddy and I were just road tripping, and we just needed a hotel for the night, so we just got one, like the cheapest motel room they had. So very, very on a whim, not a crazy story. But then I found out that it was a Route 66 thing, and I was like, oh, I've been there.
Yeah, that's a really cool one. I mean, the building is really neat to look at. Like it's a beautiful, like old Southwest style kind of historic hotel. And then it's also famous for hosting movie stars during like the golden age of Hollywood. So a lot of famous, mid-century movie stars stay there. So that's a really good one. There's also Muffler Man in Gallup that's like down the road. He's kind of on top of a car dealership or something, but you can go just peek at him from the road. And anything else in Gallup?
Gallup, if you're looking for a place to just stay the night that isn't Albuquerque, I would recommend Gallup. There are plenty of hotel options there, and if you don't want to eat greasy Americana Route 66 food, you can find pretty much any fast food chain of your choice. But there is a little restaurant inside the El Rancho Motel. I do remember eating there. I don't remember what I had. Probably a Coors Light and like nachos, but this was probably 12 years ago, so it's a little blurry of a memory. It's just too long ago, but you can find pretty much anything you want in that town. So yeah. I would recommend using that as a pit stop if you're looking for a place and you don't want to stay in Albuquerque proper.
Yeah, totally. I stayed in Gallup too, not at the El Rancho, but some cheap motel, and it was good. It was a good little stopover town.
Yeah.
I guess saying the El Rancho is a little bit redundant, by the way. It should just be El Rancho.
You're from California. It just fits. Let's go with it.
That's why I should mix. That's why I shouldn't say it. But anyway, you guys know what I mean.
It didn't even click in my head when you did it. So I'm like, yep, she's right.
Yep. The El Rancho. Okay, well, let's head into Arizona. This is my favorite section of Route 66. Like, I can ride the Arizona section back and forth all day long, and this
is a good one.
It's 400 miles of like nonstop roadside attractions. So we don't have to get into all of it. I'll go over some of my highlights, and you guys can chime in with yours as well. The first one I think is Petrified Forest National Park. So this is a big one because it's the only national park with an original section of Route 66 running right through it. It's not my favorite national park, but it's not at the bottom either, like Gateway Arch. I think it's a good one. There's some good roads you can ride and some pretty views, and there's also like a little Route 66 exhibit inside the park. That's worth stopping at. Obviously, if you're going into the park, you have to, if you don't have a park pass, I think there's probably an entrance station where you have to pay, but again, worth it. And then Holbrook is probably the first town. The thing about Arizona is that all of these towns like Holbrook, Williams, Seligman, Kingman, they all lean really heavily into the Route 66 thing. And there's so many just like little stores and like photo ops and stuff. So you really can't go wrong in any of these towns.
I feel like Arizona did a really good job with those little Route 66 towns of keeping them pretty preserved. And I want to say, I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but I want to say Seligman was one of the first towns to really like petition to keep certain parts about Route 66 like revived and like restored essentially. I don't know if you're familiar with any of that or not, Sanna, but
yeah, I think there's specifically this one family, the Delgadillos. They have been really instrumental in getting Seligman kind of added to the Route 66 map, and they run still several businesses in town too. So they've done a lot of good work there.
Yeah, I think the Arizona stretch has definitely, they've done a great job leaning into that heritage. Because, and I will say, I feel like the towns are few and far between. Again, on a motorcycle, it's kind of one of those. Once you get west of Albuquerque, I feel like between Albuquerque and Flagstaff especially, really, honestly, this goes for the whole West. I think it's worth planning your gas stops a tiny bit. Like before you leave one, just check and see how far the next one you want to stop at is, because they can be really few and far between. Even if you're on a bagger with a 5-gallon tank or more, it's worth it to just kind of check because there's some lonely stretches out there.
Yes, for sure. One of my absolute favorite stops is the Jackrabbit Trading Post, which is just like a little, again, souvenir shop that is like not that exciting, but that's where that big yellow sign is that says, "Here it is." And there's a jackrabbit on that sign. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
I've seen it. I've never stopped, but I've seen it.
So that sign is like obviously iconic Route 66 visual. But the really cool part of it is that back in the day when they built this spot, their marketing campaign was basically placing little Easter egg signs along the route itself. So
they were the original Buc-ee's, is what you're telling me?
Yeah, but like very low key. Like you had to really look for them. So there is, for example, in Tucumcari at the Blue Swallow Motel, if you're just like kind of looking in the bushes next to the motel, there's a little, like on a fence, there's a little yellow sign that says 422 miles. And then there's just a jackrabbit on it. It doesn't say it doesn't say the name of the business. There's no web address. There's nothing on it. It just says 422 miles.
That's cool.
There's another sign by the Blue Whale of Catoosa that also, however far that is from the Jackrabbit Trading Post. So it's just like a fun little treasure hunt that you can do along the route. And if you're just coming from the east and if you don't know what you're looking for, you just see these signs and you don't even know what they're pointing to. So when you actually finally get there and there's a big sign that says, "Here it is," in the same yellow with the same jackrabbit on it, it's just like a really fun little adventure that you feel like you're kind of like on the inside of it now. You know what's
That's cool.
Yeah. I have a little fridge magnet of that sign that I get to look at every day. So
I love it.
Yes. And then I guess we can keep moving towards Winslow, which is another famous one. Standing on the Corner in Winslow is a big deal it's the Take It Easy song by the Eagles, where the lyrics go "Standing on the Corner in Winslow, Arizona." And they have fully made that corner into it's a park. It's called the Standing on the Corner Park. If you go there, expect to stand in line behind a bunch of boomers who are waiting for their photo op. I mean, I did. I also got my photo there. And there's a lot of good stuff in Winslow too.
Yeah, I've actually never stopped in Winslow because if I go that way, I'll come up So I lived in Phoenix for a while. I'm sure listening to this podcast, you're like, man, you lived
I
everywhere.
actually, yeah, where hasn't this
But
lady lived?
All
my
along Route 66.
yeah,
Yeah.
my 20s were a wild and wonderful time, and I don't regret them. But I moved a lot. I moved like every 8 to 12 months for like almost a decade. And it was a lot. It gave me a lot of really cool travel experiences that I wouldn't have had if I stayed in one spot the whole time. But I used to go from Phoenix to New Mexico, and I would take the back way. And long story short, the back way is to go up the Beeline from Payson, and you end up in Holbrook. So I would always go through Holbrook, get gas there, and then just blast on I-40 into New Mexico. And so some of those towns, it's like I see them on the interstate and I just would never stop. But anytime you see Winslow, you're like, standing on the corner of Winslow, Arizona. And that's just me and my motorcycle helmet, like going down the freeway. And I just wave and then I keep going.
Absolutely. But they've done up the part. I mean, the lyrics go something like there's something about a girl and a flatbed Ford, and like there's a flatbed Ford parked up front, and there's a mural with the girl, and it's the whole thing. It's cute. I like it. All right. Anything else on Winslow?
No, I think we knocked that one out of the park. We've all sang it. We're good.
I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, I know I've done 40 several times between Winslow and Gallup, and I don't remember anything between those two towns.
There's a big power plant on the interstate. And when I see it, I'm like, I'm only at the power plant.
There's so much more to go.
Yeah. I think if you have the time, I know I'm backtracking here, but if you have the time right at the New Mexico Arizona state line, there's like some quirky kind of tourism shops right there at the state line, but there's all these like beautiful like red sandy rocks right there that's very like iconically like Navajo Nation, I guess. And I think that if you have the time to just stop there and snap a photo, go for it. You'll know what I'm talking about when you see it.
Yeah, that's a good one. There are some of those like kind of Native American trading posts there that are cool. At least one of them has like a big yellow sign that is like really like a stark contrast towards the red rocks in the background. It's just like one of those places where Americana and like historic road trip culture meets like the landscapes of the American West. And I think that's a really neat like juxtaposition there. So I do think that's worth a stop. It's also interesting because we are going through so many different states. It's almost like you can tell exactly when you're going into a new state just based on how the scenery changes. Like it's wild because you'd think these are like kind of arbitrary lines, but the like ecosystems are so different. And especially the farther west you go, you can really tell like when you're getting into like New Mexico and Arizona. So it's neat.
It is neat. It's very neat.
Another neat spot, good segue here, is Two Guns, which is an old ghost town. Not even a ghost town. It's just a bunch of abandoned ruins, basically. There's a cool bridge, and then there's something called the Apache Death Cave. That it actually it has a really interesting history. There's shootouts. There's like people buying up the town and restoring it and then falling into disrepair. It's a really interesting history. I would highly recommend looking up Two Guns, Arizona, and just reading up on the history. It's too much to go into here, but I stopped there. I was on my solo trip riding alone kind of off-road into a town called Two Guns to find something called the Death Cave, and I was questioning all of my life choices as I was doing this. But it was cool. I found the cave. I did not climb down into it because that would have been just a step too far, but it's a neat little ghost town ruin stop if you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah, and it's right outside Flagstaff, right? Like just to the east of it?
Yeah, I believe so. And then I didn't really put a lot in my notes about Flagstaff. Like that's, I love Flagstaff. I think it's a really cool town. It's kind of a gateway town to the Grand Canyon. There's a lot of good riding out of Flagstaff. You can go south to Sedona, which is super beautiful. Obviously, you can go north to Grand Canyon. But Flagstaff itself, there's a lot of good food. It's a cute town. It's a college town, so it's got kind of a younger vibe. And it gets really cold in the winter. I think those are the highlights.
Nailed it.
You nailed it. Lots of good. There's food options there if you don't want to
food,
eat.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great food. Lots of hipster food because college kids. And
yep, I love hipster food.
Yeah, there's some good Greasy Spoon diners there as well. And then, of course, lodging. If you're looking for good lodging spots, I think that's I think that's another one. But if you go just down the hill, then you're in Williams, and I think that's also a really good town to overnight in. So,
Yeah.
Which I would also consider a gateway town to the Grand Canyon. One thing I will say on Flagstaff real quick is that the world's first muffler man lives there. So he's at the university, um, the NAU, Northern Arizona University. They have actually two, I think, identical or similar muffler men, and one of them is the first one, as far as we know, the first one ever built. So you can see him there at the university campus.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Williams, yeah, another cute.
Yeah, Williams is a good one. I like that place. Last time I went to the Grand Canyon, we stayed there in a shady motel that stunk pretty bad. But the town is cool. They're really leaning into the history as well, and it's not as like weird as Winslow. It's more like a normal town.
Yeah.
And I like the vibes there.
lots of neon signs. They love their
Mhm.
neon, and they definitely they lean into their Route 66 heritage. I would say that it's almost like the exile town of Flagstaff. Like if you want to get away from the big city of Flagstaff, which for the record, Flagstaff is not a big city, but that's kind of the vibe I get of people that live there, even younger people. It's like they just wanted a smaller town lifestyle, so they left Flagstaff and moved to Williams.
Yeah, there's a dollar store there and that has everything. It's like anything you need, it's at the dollar store.
There's also one of the little like Route 66 souvenir shops there has what I believe to be the largest Route 66 shield that exists. So you walk in and there's just like a big giant one, like the one I have on my wall here, but like times 1,000 in size.
Yeah.
So if you're like the world's largest things, there's one there. And then I guess we should go to Seligman. Like this is there's some stuff I guess on the way, but
I'd say that's really the next like thing worth stopping for, though.
yeah. Seligman is like the quintessential Route 66 town. We talked about it a little bit, how they were kind of like really pushing towards like leaning into this heritage and revitalizing the town. And there's so much to see here from just like a roadside attraction, Americana, Route 66 vibe standpoint. So the town sits at the eastern end of the longest remaining stretch of Route 66. And this is like a lot of people just stay on I-40, but every time I get off in Seligman and go up through like Oatman, or you go through Kingman first and then you go up through Oatman, but that's like part of that continuous stretch. Once you get into like the main part of town, the first thing you'll see is Delgadillo's snow cap, and I always stop there for soft serve. They have It's like a little diner. I've never eaten anything other than ice cream there, but they'll play pranks on you when you order and like pretend throw things at you, and you have to just like be prepared for it and roll with the punches. But the ice cream's good, and then they have a backyard area that has a bunch of like random memorabilia and like a bunch of toilets for some reason. There's a lot of toilet art here, and it's a cool spot. I highly recommend this one.
Cool.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever bothered to get off of 40 to go there, so I probably should.
You should. It's a cool little town, and it's like they've got a couple restaurants too. I think like the Roadkill Cafe and some others. It's small, but it's worth it to stop and check out.
It's small, but it's so jam packed with like Route 66 stuff. And like near the Roadkill restaurant, there's also a little like fake Western town. There's a gas station across the street that has the world's largest Route 66 sign. I think it's just painted. It's just like a mural, but it's good for a photo op near the Chevron station there. And yeah, again, there's so much history here, especially like if you look into the Delgadillo family, they've done a lot of work here, and they own at least 2 businesses in town. So cool spot for Route 66 history for sure. And then if you don't get back on I-40, you get to go through just like a long stretch of pretty much nothing. There's not much on the stretch until you get to Kingman. There's a Hackberry General Store, which is kind of neat. One of those just like general stores with a lot of signs and like souvenirs and tourist crap, but it's a cool spot. And it's a detour for sure to go up this route, but it's it's worth it to just get off I-40 and get to just like see some nature for a little bit. Yeah, have you guys been up that way? Anything else we should talk about there?
Man, after Seligman, I just beeline it straight to the Oatman Highway. The Sidewinder. I don't even care about Kingman. I'm like, just get me to the donkeys and the donkey ear fries or whatever they call them.
The one thing you should do in Kingman, I think, if you're only going to do one thing in Kingman, stop at the visitor center and do the photo op with a big drive-through shield that they have there. So there's a big, giant Route 66 shield that you can drive through. Great for a photo op. There might be a line of cars or whatever, but it depends on when you go. If you come there super early in the morning, there will be fewer people. Ask me how I know. And then the visitor center is cool too, but like I think the shield is definitely a can't miss stop.
Definitely, I agree with that. I've never stopped at it, but it's always on my list. I'm like, oh, I'll
You
stop,
can't.
but I can't. And then I'm like, nope, we're gonna do Seligman and Oatman.
Yep.
Well, let's head up the Oatman Highway then, because
Okay.
have you done it, Davin?
I have.
Of course he has. It's the racetrack of Route 66.
Yeah.
But this is a
Indeed.
sketchy racetrack because you can come around the blind corners and there'll be burros, wild donkeys in the middle of the road. So that would be my caution there. So it's for those who don't know, it's 191 curves in 8 miles. It's just like a narrow roadway with super tight turns, steep drop offs, no guardrails, all the fun stuff. And then with the added bonus of wild burros, just like hanging out in the middle of the road. So you can come around the corner and there'll just be a flock of them.
The Arizona Sidewinder is its nickname.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you, once you're, through the twisty, I guess it depends on which way you're coming from. They're both pretty twisty, but in the middle of it sits Oatman. And that's, one of those revitalized ghost towns that they do like Old West reenactments. It's pretty touristy, but it's still a fun spot. And there's donkeys everywhere. You can like buy like donkey feed and they'll eat out of your hand too.
Oh, feed. I thought you
So
said
cute.
feet. And I was like,
Donkey feet.
and I was like, okay.
They're hooves. Come on.
Oh, I was like, okay, I've been to Oatman and I have fed the donkeys, but I didn't see a single
No.
foot, a hoof in a gift shop.
No feed.
Feed. Yeah. So, yeah, you can buy the donkey feed with a D, not a T. You can buy it at a bunch of the different gift shops in town, and it comes in like a paper bag. And you totally have to be careful because the donkeys, because they're so used to being fed by people, they will try and eat the paper bag. Ask me how I know. I have it on footage. They also try to eat my hair.
I had one just walk up to me and like headbutt me so hard that I almost fell over. So they can get a little aggressive.
Yeah, the official mayor of Oatman is a donkey. So they're definitely fans of their wild burros there. And I think that if you do stop in town, the Oatman Hotel is kind of like the go-to spot in town if you want food or a drink. And it's a dollar bill bar. So if you're someone who likes to go into, kind of like a tortilla flat type spot outside of Phoenix where like the walls, the ceiling, everything you can see is just absolutely covered in dollar bills. That's a spot you need to check out. And I love seeing stuff like that on my travels. And it's not technically a hotel anymore, but the upstairs section of it is now kind of like, I don't want to call it a museum, but you can kind of go upstairs and check it out. At least that's the way it was when I was there in 2022, I believe was the last time I was through there. But it was really cool. It's a fun spot to kind of grab some food, take a rest, and then continue on down the highway. So,
yes, for sure. It's a good stop. It's fun riding, but it's not for the faint of heart. Like there's some really tight turns there and you should just be comfortable riding on a narrow road, no guardrails.
Yeah, and it's because narrow even on a motorcycle. So imagine someone in, a big truck coming around the corner at you, or someone who is a tourist, maybe like yourself, and they're not used to how tight and narrow that road is. Like you could expect a car to totally be in your lane going around a curb. So just have fun, but be very mindful going through there because it can be a little sketchy. So
yeah, for sure.
And I like to think about when I'm going on the Sidewinder, when I'm riding that, I like to think about back in the day when Route 66 was like the thing to do and to do this great American road trip, and to think of all these old, big metal cars that used to drive this all the time, because that had to have been like a white knuckle experience back in the day because there just weren't a lot of roadways like that. And so then you've got like, you, your wife, your kids in the back seat wondering, are we there yet? And then there's like all these big, crazy cars coming through this road. And like, you have to think back in the day, car suspension wasn't what it is now. So that must have just been quite the roller coaster back in the day in a car. So
Yeah, I mean, it kind of still is. So you can imagine how it was back in the day.
exactly.
Okay, we are leaving Arizona and heading into the worst part of Route 66, California. I can say that because I live here and I love California, but the first section is good. So I always stay in Needles, which is not like a happening town by any means. It's just like a good place to grab a cheap motel for the night. For some reason, all roads lead to Needles for me. I always end up there. Like the last night on almost on all my road trips, I've spent so much time in Needles. But then the next stop, or I guess the first real stop in California, is Roy's Motel, and that's one we already talked about in, I guess, the last episode, because this will be its own episode because we are so
Episode
far
2.
into it at this
Yeah,
point.
deep.
Sorry, guys. I'll plan it better next time.
We didn't know we were going to get this excited about it. It's fine.
I know.
I told you this would be 9 hours long.
Yeah. But yeah, so Roy's has a really iconic neon sign. I keep saying the word iconic, but this is just like a good word to describe a lot of these places on Route 66, because it's like, if you know anything about road tripping in America, like these are the images that are probably going to pop into your head. And this is one of those. So they restored the sign a few years ago, and now it's fully functional neon. It's really beautiful. There's a gas station here that I wouldn't necessarily recommend because it's very expensive, because middle of nowhere. A little gift shop, you can buy some souvenirs. And then it's also like down the road from the Amboy crater, which is a kind of volcano crater that's surrounded by a lava field. That's a pretty cool hike in the Mojave Trails National Monument. So those are like two actually really cool stops on the California section.
Agreed.
Then I would recommend getting off Route 66 and going to Joshua Tree instead. But
Fuck Joshua Tree.
Oh my God.
I forget that you don't like that national park, but it's in my top 10. I love Joshua Tree.
What did it do to you?
I had never been because I haven't, and Sanna has been like, it's so good, it's like top 5, blah blah blah, and I go in there and it's the same as the shit on the outside. Like, why did I pay to get in here? I could have just rode around in circles over here.
There's a couple more Dr. Seuss trees in the park than there are outside of it. I think it's worth it to go in. But whatever.
Yeah.
Stay outside.
We'll have an episode where we fight about it.
Yeah. I am pro Joshua Tree. Who can be against? We'll do debate.
I think the nice thing about side questing off of Route 66 and going to Joshua Tree is you get to have a fun, like, quirky detour where Joshua Tree is kind of like a hip, high desert town. So there are some good eats there that aren't greasy spoons. And then
the town itself is lovely.
Park is
way
beautiful.
better than 29 Palms.
Yeah. But then there's also Pioneer Town nearby, and they have
Super
live
cute.
music, and there's food there too. So there's some cool things to see, and then you drop down into the Morongo Canyon and hit the 10 into LA, and then you'll eventually regroup onto Route 66. But yeah, I've ridden the 40 across, and I would probably agree with that. Like, I haven't done all these Route 66 stops, but I've ridden all of this area, and I would probably do that. I would probably recommend dropping down and skipping that section if you're not like gung ho about doing all 2,400 miles.
Yeah, because like we're about to get into some of the worst towns in California, like Barstow. I was going to say no offense to people in Barstow, but no, full offense. It's worse.
I think we should throw Baker in there first. Yeah.
Baker, yeah. But Baker is off the 15, so it's not
right.
on I-40. But yeah, it's a similar genre.
Gross.
But the Calico Ghost Town is on kind of the stretch. It's pretty cool. Like, it's one of those like touristy ghost towns, kind of a little similar to Oatman, I think, but a little less remote. Like it's right off the freeway, so it's a good spot if you're just like old mining towns and kind of
Yep.
old West history.
The LA Barstow Vegas ride goes through Calico on occasions, and going up the Calico steps, which are like a gnarly kind of hard enduro section, if you will, of that is fun if you like type 2 or 3 fun. But I think riding off road in that area is more fun than most options.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then another really good stop is the Bottle Tree Ranch.
I don't think I know about this one.
So this is like quintessential roadside attraction. This is a good one, and it's probably I would rate this as the top spot on the California section as well. So it's this guy Elmer. He's not around anymore. It might still be called Elmer's Bottle Tree Ranch, but he passed away, and his son, I believe, took it over. So it's still open to the public as far as I know. But it's basically this forest of trees made out of glass bottles. So I think just like iron poles with different colored glass bottles.
Where is it?
It's up north. It's towards like the 395. It's north of Victorville.
Another lovely town.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's like Barstow, Apple Valley, and Victorville. They are.
Oh, God, the God's Triangle.
Yes. Yeah, I guess chime in with anything else that I'm missing, but I'm just kind of mentioning like things that I think if you're like gonna do this, I don't know why you would.
I've never done that section between there because 395 is depressing enough.
I love that we've gotten to California and
just destroying it.
And you both have lived there and or do live there, and you guys are like, yeah, this stretch sucks.
And I think I can say this because I sing California's praises on the regular. Like, listen to our PCH episode. I truly, deeply in my heart love California, but
not everything's perfect.
Not I-40, not riding through LA, not riding through the Inland Empire. It's just, it's torture.
It's the worst.
It is what it is. I think if there's one thing on Route 66 in California, if I had to pick 3 things to do on California Route 66, it would be Rory's Motel and just take pictures with that iconic neon sign in that area and just check it out. It's super cool. I would definitely check out the McDonald's Museum, the original McDonald's, because I just feel like even though McDonald's isn't that old in regards to Americana, I just think that's something you have to do. And then, of course, seeing the Santa Monica Pier and then the end sign there. Those would be my 3 things that I would personally stop and see. But of course, there's so much more.
Yeah, the first original McDonald's museum that was next on my list too. I also would recommend that. It's a lot of like the old McDonald land type of items and memorabilia and like, yeah, it's really just like Americana. So I think that's a good one too. There's stuff to see if you're going through Los Angeles County, just like it's Foothill Boulevard for a very, very long stretch. And it's heavily populated the entire way. So you're just going from one stoplight to the next. But there are neon signs, there's mid-century architecture, there's a couple of vintage service stations. But yeah, again, if you live in LA, like you should probably do it at some point. I don't think it's not fun riding, but it's cool once you get through it. And then you get to the Santa Monica Pier. And I agree that that's the must-see stop. So you cannot ride your bike out on the pier. You can park next to the pier and then walk out the last section, and there's a big end of the trail sign that is great photo op. I mean, the Santa Monica Pier is very scenic, I think, in just like kind of a touristy photo op way. You have the ocean, you have the beach around you, and then you have all these little tourist shops. There's some Route 66 shops on the pier as well. And there's ice cream. So I would suggest grabbing your ice cream cone and walking out to the end of the trail sign. And that's a really good way to finish Route 66, in my opinion.
I think
I'm going to head out there tomorrow, as a matter of fact.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm going to meet up with our friends Long Beach Lizzie and Christina at PCH and Sunset Boulevard for a little rip up to Malibu in the morning. So on my way there or back, I will stop at the pier, grab some photographs. And then after that, I have a meeting with a guy who is got permission from Santa Monica to do the Mother Road Rally this summer.
Oh,
So
cool.
it's going to be motorcycles and cars, I believe, but they've got the green light to take over the whole zone down there. So when I figure out more about this, I will let everybody know.
Cool. Yeah, I think this year, again, because it's the centennial, there's going to be so many of those kind of one-offs or new things or
Yeah.
cool things
I've got the
happening.
pitch deck and everything here that I didn't look at yet. So once I know more, I'll let you guys know what's up.
Perfect.
Going hog wild at the
Yeah.
end of Route 66. We love it.
Yeah, should be cool.
I hope there's corn dogs.
It better be.
Okay, well, I think we did it. This was very long, which is why it's going to be 2 episodes. So when you're listening to this, if you've made it this far, you've listened to 2 episodes about Route 66, but hopefully you feel inspired and ready to plan a road trip.
I'm ready. I need to go to Oklahoma, so I'm going to add that to my list of things to do this summer.
Yeah, I might have to do Route 66 either on the way to Acadia or on the way home.
That sounds like a plan. I would go to and then come back and do the northern.
I might have to go to San Francisco for a wedding first and then leave straight from San Francisco. So I might do a more northern route on the way out there. But,
Okay.
We'll see. I haven't figured it out yet. It's planning stages still.
Cool beans.
All right. That's it for today. If you enjoyed this episode, we would really love it if you could rate and review it and subscribe to the show. It really helps us out. Also, follow at The Scenic Ride on all the socials and check out thescenicride.com for previous episodes, get your merch, and sign up for our newsletter, which I promise we'll actually send out a newsletter at some point. But get on the list so you don't miss it. Next time, Staci will be talking about some of the best riding in the South, specifically Northwest Arkansas. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. And until then, enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride.
The Scenic Ride is hosted by Staci Wilt, Davin Ortonen, and me, Sanna Bowman. Our theme music is by Ryan Sin. If you like the show, please rate and review it and tell your friends to listen. For all the latest updates, follow at The Scenic Ride on Instagram or visit thescenicride.com. Thanks for listening.